Hi, how are you doing? This is Muthusingram again. This module, Business Incubation, Session 2 will cover incubator business models. As always, we'll ask you to spend 30 seconds to jot down what would you like to achieve at the end of this session 2. Okay, let's continue. Where would you put a business incubator? Primarily, most business incubators are university based because a lot of innovation comes out from students, faculty, and research research students and so on. So university-based incubators are very good examples. The next one would be non-governmental organizations where they would run incubators. Then we also have government sectors where they would have it based and run by a government. And the next one, it's a private sector where the private sector, a large organization, might run an incubator in line with their business line. And of course, most technology parks these days have an incubator, again, to feed the technology park tendency as the incubator produces more and more startups. So these are some of the places where you would see a incubator based. Now, what is the objective of an incubator? The objective of an incubator is to look at research and ideas to commercialize them. So primarily, a role of an incubator is to move research and idea into a commercial activity. Why are you doing that? The reason you take it to commercial is to generate employment opportunity. Again, an incubator's important role is to create and foster innovation. By doing this, we are generating income which can be exported. We are empowering young graduates to become entrepreneurs instead of job seekers. We are creating new sectors just like the internet, e-commerce, websites, and so on are new sectors, mobile phones. These produce great opportunities for others to get in, and you enhance the sector competitiveness by having incubators. We should also support the deprived, so the incubators can produce valuable innovations which can bring their lively standards better. The key terms in business incubation, as we've been talking about the last session too, the first one is called business incubation. Primarily, this is to foster ideas and innovation of startups and entrepreneurs to help them grow into a healthy business by giving them support. The business incubator itself is a physical body which will facilitate, and it will also run a whole lot of programs to help the incubatees or startups. A business model is what you require to keep your incubator running. Without a business model, you will not be able to run your incubator. So this is how you create profits and revenues for your incubator. And the incubators can be both resident and non-resident, like we spoke in the last module. Key terms in business incubation. Continuing. Incubator environment. Here you provide them with space to the startups, which lowers their establishment costs, enhances the business opportunity, and you offer them services in order for their ideas or researches we spoke about to become commercially viable. We need to have selection for entry. We can't just take any startups. We need to ensure the startups we bring in, we are able to support them. We should not be bringing in a startup into our incubator if we cannot create value for them. It's not about numbers, it's about creating value. That is why we need to be clearly define the services that we are going to offer these incubators. Then we need to have an exit criteria. This is when the startups will have to be exited without graduation if they are not up to mark or if they are not doing the right things. And the next thing is, how do you graduate them? These are the ones who have completed the incubation successfully. Usually, a typical incubation period would be anything between 2 to 5 years, depending on which area of technology we are getting involved. Virtual business incubation, as we already talked about this will be done online. This is useful to startups who have already their own facilities, but they don't have other supports like business support, network support, mentoring, so they can be carried out virtually. Now, the key terms we continue in business incubation. It's always good to have an anchor tenant, which means they'll be able to pay for the rental of the incubator, which will make it easier for you to run the incubator. Plus, it will create credibility to the incubator because you have an anchor tenant of a well repute. And then we need to look for angel investors. Today there's lots and lots of angel groups, so we need to connect with them, interact with them regularly. So initial early stage funding can be done by the successful people, not necessarily entrepreneurs, but successful people who can offer the first initial funding to get an idea started off. Hot desking is primarily not fixed seats where startups can move up to meeting rooms, conference rooms to meet their clients. The last one which we talked about is the non-resident clients, where this will be done through virtually, where we'd use online, so they could come visit once in a while, but generally most of the things would be done online. So these are some of the keywords you need to understand in business incubation. Now, we need to also have a spirit of entrepreneurship in the startups. First, we need to prepare in terms of technical aspects. They need to be well prepared in their technical aspects so they're able to understand what they are trying to achieve. They need to have vision, management, and technical skills in order to run the business. They have to have ability to utilize information and resources to enhance business opportunities. All startup entrepreneurs should be determined, they should be passionate, they should be flexible and hardworking to make their goals a reality. They also need to be able to have interpersonal skills. Without interpersonal skills, we cannot build a team, we cannot build customers. If we cannot build customers and a team, we cannot be successful. So all this depends on interpersonal skills that we need to acquire as we progress with the journey of our entrepreneurship. Key principles of business incubation should be business-like organization and a dynamic model. Incubator itself is like a startup, so we should be able to run it like a business. It should focus and resources and energy to assist startups. We should not be criticizing the startups. We should try as much as we can to help them to increase the chances of success. So we are not there to police them, we are there to help them. We need to guide them, talk to them on a regular basis, connect them with what they need, what they're lacking. That's the role of the incubator. We need to develop proper, effective skills so the startups can use them as they require and as they progress. So again, this is for their success. We need to generate a network by developing collaboration and integration for supports in various enterprise areas. We need to join the local chamber to come and associate themselves with our incubator, local companies, local institutions, and so on to build this network. Overall of an incubation process. First, they should enter. It's always good to run a pre-incubation program so you can filter out the good and bad ideas, startups, whatever, correct them. And they should probably run for 3 to 6 months. And then move to incubation, where it should run anything between 2 to 5 years. And then you graduate them out. So this should be an overall incubation process. This process will very much depend on what area you have decided to take part. Now, selecting startups. First, the startup should be able to meet your eligibility criteria. Therefore, it's important for you to make sure the eligibility criteria is within the objective of your incubator. Then you select the potential ideas which will flourish through your incubator. So this is a very, very important role. And then you select with the goal of successful graduation. So you need to first of all look at how you can help them, how you can graduate them, and you select startups are inclined to reach graduation, which means they will go through the whole hall. They will not leave halfway. It is so important that you ensure that your startups are there to be going through the entire period of incubation. How do you establish link to the incubator? It's very important for the incubator to have enough linkage to help the startup. So the first thing you need to do is look out for business service providers. These can be people like accountants, secretaries, lawyers, marketers, researchers, whosoever who can help your startups. Next, you need to have university and research institution connected so you can rely on them for technical support if your startups require. You'll also need to build a good, strong relationship with your local and central government agencies so it can help you when you need their support. You need to have a string of investors so your startups can reach out to them when they need funding. You need to have a good set of mentors. We will talk about mentors, investors in detail in a different session. These are part of the network, part of the success of your incubator. Your incubator needs to create an environment for your incubators. What, why should you do this? You should help the economy and entrepreneurial growth within your ecosystem. And you need to enhance the entrepreneurship, innovation, and social capital within your ecosystem. So you should provide learning environment which is dynamic so you can foster technology transfer, entrepreneurship, and innovation. You need to have a joint approach where procurement can be done together to reduce cost. So again, minimizing the expenses for the entrepreneur. You should constantly have proper power backup to ensure there is enough power throughout the day so there is not too much power trip and disrupt the incubators work. We should navigate them through regulatory environment to lower their compliance costs and also time consumption. Many of the startups don't understand or realize or take care of regulatory. So it's very important to take care of regulatory frameworks from the start of your idea so later on you don't run into any difficulty. Incubator environment for stakeholders. You have to act as an experiment channel to policymakers. If the incubators are getting better and better, the policymakers would support the growth and they would also modify or adapt to regulatory frameworks which would support entrepreneurs. Serve as advocates to enhance the awareness of regulatory change in business. We need to be the leaders as incubators. We need to encounter and raise issues to policymakers which delay the business growth of incubators. So we need to help the incubators highlight this. That is why many countries have associations for incubators where the incubator associations can take this issue to policymakers and get it resolved. We need to help them overcome business barriers. Why would we do that? To help them, obviously, to be profitable, to develop their businesses. Now, good practice of business incubation. Commit to the three business incubation key principles. First, realizing incubator should be sustainable and dynamic with effective business operation. So the first principle for you, your incubator should be sustainable. Second, you need to enhance the startup's growth and increase their success rate. And third, you need to develop effective programs, services for your startups to make sure they can progress. So these are the three good practices incubators should start working on. Continuing with good practices, you need to establish normality on the mission of the incubator and to make plans to achieve the same. And then you need to plan financial stability, your implementation and development of business ideas. Then you go through to ensure you help in recruitment and offering app salary to the management team, incubator and directors of the incubator, and enhance in turn make sure management and priority given for effective assistance to startups. So if they're paid well, they're taken care of, your incubator staff will then be motivated in order to help your incubatees. So it's all about making everyone comfortable and passionate about making a incubator successful. Continuing through. In an incubator, there's three phases: the foundation phase, the development phase, and mature phase. Let's look at each of these phases one at a time. The foundation phase. This consists of steps taken prior to establishing an incubator, the decision and activity you implement to determine the environment your incubator is going to be. You need to look at all the activities you're planning, how you're going to fundraise. You got to do a flexibility study, feasibility study, networking, marketing, and all that things you need to do. You got to set up your team and get your legal structure. And this is called the foundation. And then you look into the development phase. You need to make sure this is complex because you need to make sure your operations are set up right. You need to focus on networking, marketing, and attaining certain level of incubators to be cash positive. So this would be the development phase. Work on development of economic aspects. You got to aim in ensuring the sustainable business model, and then you need to make sure there's a stream of lining funds and revenue to make sure that your incubator is able to function and then you would have the mature incubation phase. This is where your services have become high quality, you're sustainable, you're comprehensive, and you're flexible. You have evolved through. Your incubators are now ready to graduate. You'll be able to provide a wide range of training and business services to incubators. You create various linkage. You act as a platform business development. This is where you have become mature. To get to this stage, it might take you 3 to 5 years or even longer, because you need to learn, you need to practice, you need to try and ensure what are the right services, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Every incubator is not the same. Now let's focus on attaining economic viability of an incubator. First, they need to be able to have a good administration team. They need to be administrated well. Next, they need to have commercialization and production in place. So their products and services must be able to go to commercial, and they must be able to produce them. If you're not able to produce them, you will not be able to take it to market, and you must be able to produce them on time at the right cost to take it into the market. Next, you need to be able to have your management work. So you need a management team in place to make sure you are getting your focus correct to make it a viable incubator. So if the economics are not viable, neither the incubator or the incubator will survive. So it's very, very important that the economic viability is in focus at all time. Now, services to make your incubator economic viable. Most important, and we keep talking about, and we'll probably have a session on networking. Very, very important. We need to have good networking. We need to have good mentoring. We will do a session on mentoring. You need to have good technical skill development. You need to be able to develop a business plan for them. You need to teach them how to do pricing and planning. And you need to talk about marketing and logistics services in order to make sure your incubators are going to be economically viable. So it's a lot of hard work for the incubator management team to ensure the incubators are going to be successful. What is next? As always, we insist on you to identify what your key takeaway from this lecture. How does it relate to you, and what are you going to share from this lecture with others? So please write it down in a piece of paper. You don't have to share it with me. You don't have to share it with anybody. It's just for you to make sure the time you spend with me is of some value. If you're able to learn one thing from each of my sessions, we are doing a great job. Again, we have made some references to the business incubation toolkit from the InfoDev business information toolkit. So we acknowledge that. This is how you contact me. As always, you already have my email, my mobile, and you can always pick up a book at Amazon if you choose to. Once again, thank you very much for spending your time and listening to me. I'm always happy to get any feedback you think is of value. Very shortly, we will do session 3. Thank you